Hello, welcome to Advanced Planning and Control, Week 4. We are still talking about procurement. This week, we will focus on control procurement. Control procurement is the process of managing procurement relationships, monitoring contract performance, and making changes and corrections as appropriate, and closing out contracts, and this is according to the PMBOK. The key benefit of control procurement as a process, it ensures that both the seller's and the buyer's performance meet the project's requirements according to the terms of the legal agreement or the contract. As I said, control procurement is a process. It has inputs, outputs, and it uses some tools and techniques. The inputs of the process of control procurement are project management plan, requirements management plan, risk management plan, procurement management plan. There are some project documents such as assumption logs, lesson learned, milestone list, quality reports, requirements documentation, and also a very important input to the control procurement process is agreements and approved changes requests, work performance data. The tools and techniques that we may use through the control procurement process are expert judgment, claims administration, data analysis including any performance reviews, if we perform earned value analysis, trend analysis, and of course audits and inspection reports. The outputs of the process of control procurement are closed procurements, work performance reports, procurement documentation updates, changes, requests, project management plan updates, including the risk management plan, procurement management plan, schedule baseline, cost baseline, and of course project documents updates, including lessons learned, resource requirements, the requirements traceability matrix, risk register, and stakeholder register. And all these updates are included in the organizational assets. Sometimes we think that control procurement is only how to administer contracts and agreements. However, yes, controlling procurement include contract administration, which include any contracts and agreements, authorizing payment, checking in correct deliverables. However, control procurement is all about managing procurement relationships. And the underlying focus is how to manage relationships between us as a buyer and the sellers. And of course, contracts and agreements are legally binding documents. And we have to exert all the efforts to ensure that we don't go into legal issues or legal disputes. So when administering contracts, someone in the company or on the project team is assigned the responsibility of ensuring that the seller follows the contract and the contractual conditions, that they follow the terms and conditions in the contract. That person is called the contract administrator. They are also in place to ensure the final product or the deliverables from the sellers and how these deliverables are fit for use and according to the required specifications. Usually, the contract administrator will be a subject matter expert. They may be part of the legal team or the procurement team. So let's talk a little about agreements and contracts. Agreements are understandings between two or more parties, including the duties of each party, the terms and conditions that govern this relationship, and very important steps included in the contract administration is claims administration. Claims or any claim arises when the buyer refuses to pay for constructive changes. Maybe the buyer and the seller cannot agree on the price, or the buyer alleges that the work was never actually done. When claims cannot be resolved, they become disputes. And if we cannot resolve disputes, they become appeals. And this might be handled in accordance with alternative dispute resolution procedures that is usually established in the contract. Settlement of all claims and disputes throughout the negotiation is the preferred method, but as sometimes happen, you might go to the appeal route and the court. And claims are documented, processed, monitored, and managed throughout the contract life cycle. Also, in controlling procurements, we take care of the payment schedules and payment requests. So all payments should be made in accordance to the contract terms and conditions. And the payments are updated, and the payment schedules and requests also are updated. So what are the responsibilities of the contract administrator? The contract administrator may collect data and manage project records, including records of physical and financial performance, and to establish measurable procurement performance indicators. They might also refine the procurement plans and schedules. They might gather, analyze, and report procurement-related project data. They also monitor the procurement environment and implement and facilitate any adjustment. And of course, a huge part of their responsibilities is related to the payment of the invoices and payment requests. The stage of contract closure happens once the contract administrator verifies that all work and deliverables are acceptable. Then we can move to administrative closure. Contract closure is the process of accomplishing all tasks in the deliverable requirements. And for the contract to be closed, the seller is required to complete each and every component of the specified deliverables. This includes products and services. So as a buyer, we have to accept the deliverables and complete all the financial obligation on our end. And the contract is closed when reached and the concluding phase, or when the contract is ended before the work is completed. In multi-phase projects, contract closure closes the appropriate contracts for the subsequent phases of the project. And we might repeat this process multiple times throughout the project. This might include any unsettled claims that might lead to a lawsuit or a court appeal. So when closing procurement, there are certain duties the project manager and their team has to do, like product verification, and this includes checking to see if all the work is done correctly and satisfactory, negotiating settlements, including final settlement of all claims, invoices, and any other related issues, financial closure, and this involves making final payments, completing cost records, procurement audit, updates to records, and final contract performance reporting. Then comes administrative closure. Administrative closure refers to the completion and closure of the project. So we make sure that all disputes are raised, finalized, and come to a closure. The buyer and the seller decide that the work is completed as specified according to the contract terms and conditions. And we document that the work and the deliverables are acceptable. We debrief the seller on their performance, and we document their performance, and this will be used for future sourcing of contracts. And also we allow the seller to understand if there are opportunities for improvement and to install good practices. But there are some key differences between contract closure and administrative closure. Contract closure is prepared before the project is closed completely. It might be performed multiple times, several times for each contract, once for each contract during the lifetime of a project. But administrative closure is only completed one time with each phase or for the whole project. And it is an integral part of project closure because project closure is not completed without procurement closure. However, contract closure and administrative closure both are conducted during the closing process group. We first do contract closure, then we move to administrative closure. Because administrative closure is the final completion and closure of the project or the phase, and we make sure that all the work has been verified, delivered, and accepted. Procurement closure or contract closure are done before project closure. Procurement closure might be done several times throughout the project life cycle.